Texas is a really good team. They're a complete team with a lot of weapons, solid with some really tough matchups. I think that they're going to go really far this year and win a lot of games. So, we had some great opportunities. I think we battled. We didn't hang our heads or give up in the game, but just made some mistakes that don't allow you to beat number five with some of the things we did. But I thought there was some really good takeaways from this game and good film.
What are the things you did?
Yeah, so I think the things we did well is we were able to adjust. Like we went into some couple of different types of zones, and they were successful. I thought that at times, like our press in the fourth quarter was really good. I thought the third quarter we struggled a little bit. I think just the mistakes were not getting back in transition defense. That hurt us. The first half, 14 points. Second half, 8 points. I thought that, like the mistakes we paid for. So, for instance, we went to the zone. They scored 6 points in the first half against zone, which is really good. But then a couple of times we have two people on one side. So that's a communication thing. When no one's on the other side, it's a layup. Like things like that, you don't beat number five like that. But I thought the things I challenged us to do was not settle for threes. We were 7 for 8 from the three. So I told you we're going to shoot the three better. Last two games, we were 10 for 20 last game, 7 for 8 this game, so it was good. Making our free throws for the most part. But I thought better ball movement at times. I thought pretty good offense for like 25 minutes. I thought at some points we forced shots and it led to transition buckets. So a bad shot's like a turnover. And some players like Kayla, I give her a little bit more freedom to take some of those because she gets hot. But I think then at some times different players were forcing, and then we were giving transition up because they're forced shots. So I think just learning that and mistakes like going for a steal when they're in the bonus. We don't need to do that. We don't need to go for a steal where they get 2 points at the free throw line. So those are the type of things that we have to learn. But, I started with 2 freshmen and a sophomore. So, and then foul trouble right away early hurt us. So I think that there's some good things from this game and some definitely some teaching moments or teaching film moments to teach.
When Brea got those 2 fouls really quick, how did you settle her down? What did you say to her?
Well, I had to sit her for a long time. I think just understanding now, whatever, some of the calls, but understanding that you can't go, like if you're not sure and you have to feel like you have to move to get a screen, don't do it. Like let the guards use it. If it's better to miss that screen than get your second one that fast. And I think she's young. She's a freshman, so those are freshman mistakes because then she had to sit for 15 minutes. No, she had to sit for 19 and a half minutes. That's a long time, and it's very hard to come back and play well. But I'm proud of her because she sat that long. She could have been pouting, hanging her head. She was still in it, engaged mentally, great on the bench, and then she came back and did some really good things. So I think this was a moment for her to grow in. She played against a really good player. Taylor Jones is a beast. I mean, she's probably the best post in the country at keeping the ball high, super fundamental, super efficient around the basket. Like, she's 6'5" and keeps the ball higher than any post I've ever seen. That used to bother the crap out of me when she was at Oregon State. I'm like, she keeps it so high. That's what we need to do. But she does a great job of that, and she's hard to guard. She's experienced. So Brea had to battle with her. And I thought everybody contributed, and we did some good things, but we made a lot of mistakes. And I thought that this was still a pretty good performance for us. And Texas is a better team than us right now, and they outplayed us. And when we made mistakes, they went on runs, and they capitalized off them. That's what number 5 team in the country does. So we just have to continue to get better, but we are improving, and we're playing harder.
Ball movement seemed good in the first quarter and then kind of fell off in that second quarter. What do you think the difference was? Did they just get overconfident?
No, I think that, I think sometimes it's working, then people, okay, so they're really aggressive. So we're running a play where you're receiving an on ball. Then the pressure makes you reject the on ball. Then, you're out of the offense, and we don't continue to drive and kick. Then we just kind of force the shot. So I think learning that you can have a counter for that, but you still don't have to force something. Because those mid-range jumpers that we settle for in that second quarter, you can get those later in the shot clock. And then you're not giving up transition. But when you reject it and you take a shot, then no one expects it because they're waiting on this side for the offense. And then they don't know when to run back. So those things, I mean, the difference in the game in the first half was transition, 14 points. So 14 out of 45. Otherwise, they're in the 30s. So those are things that you can't do. You can't not sprint back. And I think having an understanding of that, and then turning the ball over second half, we turned the ball over against the press a lot. But we had combinations in there that, aren't as confident handling the ball. Like sometimes we had Skylar, she's a freshman up there with Jada, or, Solly. I think that was tough a little bit. We didn't have that in the first half. So having a sense of urgency and running the press break. When we ran it, you get open. When you don't run it, it's like, or you cheat up when you shouldn't, you get trapped. Like, so I think just learning those things and learning, like, the margin of error is really slim against really good teams. And we're just not there yet.
So Texas was averaging like 92 points per game.
Yeah, we held them below their average,
Yep,
barely.
exactly.
Barely.
And then, and only allowing 52.
Yeah.
So you definitely figured out a way to, one, stop them at points, and two, to score on them.
Yeah, well, and I think that, because most people don't score, they 52 and we got 75. And I think the sense of urgency that we had in the fourth quarter against their starting group was the sense of urgency and the pressing we need throughout the game. So that's what we have to learn. Like, you can't just have that in the first quarter, do good. I thought offensively we were good in the first quarter, defensively we weren't. But we were hanging there, we were making some good plays, we were battling. And then the second quarter, you can't then just relax and think you're just gonna hang around because then the deficit's like 10, then you battle so hard to get it within one, then it's the mistakes. And then it's like Gonzalez hits a few threes. So I think those little lapses are what you can't when you're a top team. And we're young and we're learning and we'll get there, but it takes time.
The full court press.
Yeah.
How did that look to you? It worked.
It did. It's just a couple minutes in the beginning of the fourth quarter, we weren't doing it. We had to do it to battle. That's what we're good at. And then we did it. We turned them over. They had a tough time against our press late. So we have to do that earlier. We can't wait till we're down 20 to do that. I think just understanding that and seeing that we had success in that, and they had a tough time with it. But then you don't have to, if you know they're in a bonus, you don't go for a reach behind steal. So those are discipline things and those are experience things that we have to show on film, we have to do and rep in practice and just continue to grow in. But I'm proud, like Jada didn't have her best offensive game, but she battles. Brea sat a long time, and Brea only played 17 minutes, but she battled and she was in. As Mary didn't play her best game, but she still fought and she tried. I think Kaylin had some really good moments. She forced a little sometimes, but then she settled down and came back better. So I think those are those learning things. She wouldn't have been able to do that last year, so that's growth. She's still a sophomore. So if you think of 3 out of 5 of the starters, 2 freshmen and a sophomore.
What is the situation with Maya Najee?
She's not with the team right now, focusing on the academics. Yep.
Is it possible that she could be back with the team?
Possible. Yeah, possible, just not sure yet. So, but right now, she's in the AMP program, which is it's on track for medical school, so it's really challenging. And it has a lot of demands, and she misses a lot because of basketball. So it's difficult. Like, she misses her job shadowing, she misses labs, internships, and then because of that also misses basketball stuff too, so that balance is hard. And then not too many people could do that. So when she needed a break, I'm very supportive and all in on it because that was what she signed up for. I knew she was going to that program when she got here, so I have to support what she's doing because her dream is and aspirations are to be a doctor. So we're student athletes, not athlete students. That's a perfect example.
Coach, there was a ruling today in a federal court.
I know what you're talking about.
The transfer going away. Just your thoughts on that and what kind of impact that could have if it continues?
Yeah, it's going to have impact, and I think it's going to continue because the NCAA doesn't want to be sued all the time. So I'm going to tell you something that Doug Bruno said like 3 years ago to Final Four. Doug Bruno is the coach at DePaul. He said, this is going to turn into the Wild Wild West. And this was before all the initial transfer, and we are going to be in the Wild Wild West. Now, good and bad. The good thing is it could benefit us too. The bad thing is it could hurt us too. So you guys thought there were a lot of transfers the last couple of years, just wait and see. So I think there's going to be even more. I think the positive thing from a player's perspective is you don't have to wait. You don't have to worry if you transfer once. You can't transfer again because you won't play because no one wants to sit out a year. So I think there's going to be more movement. I think you're going to see. I bet you're going to see more coaches getting out of this business. Because like nowadays with all the changes and continuing to have to recruit your whole roster, go in the transfer portal, lose your freshmen, gain some more, I think it's just going to be outside of people's comfort zones. For me, it is what it is. Like we have 8 new last year, 8 new this year. It's kind of what it is, and you have to adjust and adapt. And I'm young in my career here, so I just got to do what you got to do. So it's kind of interesting. I did not expect that, and it's funny because the players told me because I hadn't been on social media all day. They showed me. I was like, well, don't think you're transferring. Just kidding. But But it's like, it's interesting. So how will that affect our game? I'm really actually anxious to see.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a 2-week temporary thing until there's the
Oh,
hearing
okay.
on the 27th where it could be finalized.
I think if
So-
it's temporary, I would assume it's going to be finalized, because why do it temporary, right? I think so. So I think it's kind of, it's just interesting. I think, like, as a player, it would be really hard. Really hard. To transferring alone is hard. I think there's different situations. Some people transfer for great reasons, get in better situations. For both parties, sometimes it's better. But I think it's also hard, if I put myself in, like, the student athlete's shoe, to have to go to one school, then go to another, and then maybe go to another one. That's a lot of change. And I think it's hard. But will NIL be a really big factor in that? Probably. So the rich are going to get richer, and the poor are going to get poorer, right? Because you have money, you're going to probably be able to buy a lot of players. That's the kind of thing. So our college athletics is changing. I don't love that, but I mean, if you're a player and you have a chance to make money in college, you probably should, because you're not going to make a whole lot after, probably, right? So.
In addition to youth, depth has been one of the themes of the season. How does that impact the way you coach the game, and how does it impact the way maybe the kids play the game?
Yeah, so it impacts everything. It impacts our practices significantly. So you're trying to save legs, and we're not 100% healthy, so you're trying to figure out a way to like shorten practice. I've had to shorten practice, which is fine. But when you have a team of new and young players, there's a lot of teaching. So trying to do like more film, less on their legs, and we've been working a lot on shooting. So a lot of our practices have been intentionally shooting because we weren't shooting the ball well. But I think what it hurts, and like we've never had enough to go 5-on-5. So an example is like, here's the break. Well, there's no guys here because everybody's at home. So during the break, we won't have practice players, and then we don't have 10. So those are challenging because it's not too pretty when myself practices, or which I never will because I might hurt myself, or like a coach, it's not the same. So you don't get that rep. So I'm definitely going to have a deeper team. But we started with 12, and then we just slowly have gone slimmer. And then Monteo's injury was a big blow. And then we added a walk-on, Erin, who's been phenomenal, and she got hurt the first week. So I was like, oh, that's just the way it's going this year. But that's why I think that, so most coaches will have a tough time keeping a really big roster, right, because of all the changes. So that's going to be a challenge that I think a lot of people are going to go through. UCLA went through it last year with 7 people the whole year. We have 9 right now. But it's just challenging. So less practice, more film, more like studying and breakdown, which it's hard because that's different. But so it's uncharted territory for me, so it's new.
Brea was talking a lot about how she has to play smarter, and everyone has to play smarter because you get
Everybody.
into foul trouble, and with the depth issues, that's also, I think, a problem.
Yeah, and it's an issue with these, like, a lot of games in a short period of time too. So right now, I think in what do we have, 3 games in 7 days? So that's hard, like just with recovery. And then remember, like they just got out of school, but a lot of them still have finals for the next couple of days. So this is a mentally stressful time. So I would not choose ideally to play Texas during finals. As a coach, you never want to play really tough games during finals or right before Christmas. That's like the big no-no, because during finals they're all tired studying and they're all doing stuff last minute because that's what every kid does. And then during Christmas they're all thinking about going home and when they're going home and how and packing their bags. So they're just tough times, but yeah, we have to do it. The positive thing from a player's perspective is you get to play, and you get to play through mistakes, and I get to play young kids that will help us for the future. So I told you in the short term, I told you all you guys before, in the short term it's going to hurt us because we will lose some games. Like this game, like we're not ready, we make mistakes, we're not there yet, but it's going to pay dividends later. So it's going to get Brea a ton of experience. Like she's starting as a freshman. Jada's had a lot of opportunities to start as a freshman. Kaylin's playing. Remember, so we not only start 2 freshmen, but we also start a player, Kaylin, who didn't play a lot last year. So it's all significantly different roles, so there's a lot of teaching. So they're going to learn a lot this year, and they'll be way better for it next year. Skylar is going to play valuable minutes. Montea is able to sit and observe and watch and get better because she's learning and she's watching things. She's watching us correct things, so she's helping on the bench. So I'm hoping in the future it's going to benefit us. But it's just like surviving until then for me, actually. So.
I want to ask a question about Brea. Okay. So she goes and she sits on the bench, but then when she comes back, she really impacts the game so much. And you see that we've seen that in a lot of games where, she's gotten in a lot of foul trouble early, right? And
Yeah.
but when she comes back, like, she'll have a couple blocks and in and in like 10 minutes, she'll do what some people could have as their stat line at the end of the
Yeah.
game, right? And she'll only play 10, 12, 15 minutes and she'll have that. What are you seeing from her? How does she do that and how is she growing game by game? Because we see something in front of us.
I thought she did a really good job of staying locked in mentally, because most freshmen would have tanked. They would have been like frustrated, like upset, and I think she was disappointed in herself, but she didn't give up. I thought she came back, battled. I think she's doing a great job of getting in better shape, running the floor. She really ran the floor harder and posted early. I thought she did good on ball defense. That she couldn't do that stuff before, so she's improving. Still needs to improve on the one-on-one in the post, because you can't always have a no-move, just a layup. So getting her a midline move and a counter, which she did a couple times tonight. She wouldn't have done that before. So she boxed out a little bit better. She's just long. In high school, you don't have to do that. But I thought she battled against some really good players, and just proud of her for just sticking with it when she was out with 36 seconds. So 36 seconds in the game, then she's out. That's hard. And sometimes I think with other players, even more experienced players, they would have came in and played frustrated. So I thought she did good. And I also want to compliment Isis, because Isis, it's like different roles, and she plays every role and does it like to the best of her ability. So I really appreciate that. She's consistent with her attitude, her effort. She came in and she played really well. And she made plays and she fought and she went for every offensive. She didn't ever take plays off. So I think she gave incredible minutes. I mean, before it was very hard to play Brea and Isis together, but the way Isis is moving and playing, we can play them together. And I think that's a really positive thing with the absence of Maya. Because Maya is a good player, and she was important to this team, is important to this team. So with her out, everybody has to step up a little bit better. And as Mary's going to play better, I thought Helena was more aggressive. We need to continue to have her more aggressive, because we don't want such a uneven distribution of points and stuff. We're better. If you look at Texas, 5 players, I think, 5 players in double digits. That's what we want, and we'll get to that. They're a little bit more high-octane offense, but we can get to that. And we need to get to that. So Ez will be in double digits, getting Jada a couple more points, and Isis and Helena are right there. And then we're just more complete. And then Caitlin can still have her, 20-some points, but just a little bit more efficient by not forcing at those stretches, because she can score against anybody. But just getting her better shots with movement. So. Okay. Where are you guys? Where are your ugly sweaters?